to interview these people. Like, I don't know, just an example. Like, we interviewed Idiot the other day, and it was fascinating for me personally to be able to like interview this person that I'm so interested in their work. I've been a fan of them for years, and get to like pick their brain about process a little more and hear like kind of their inspirations and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, like writing up the questions for that was super exciting. It's always cool to have the opportunity to like ask somebody questions you've been like a fan of for years and stuff. So it's cool to have you up. I'm definitely honored as well. Bubble, I don't think we've ever talked about this before. Have you done a good bit of studying of like art history and all that as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. In my head, I kind of want to leave behind some type of like Goya black paintings, but it's just like my ghouls and me. But I definitely, like the people like Sargent, big fan. Yeah, Goya as well, Caravaggio, you can't leave out. But uh, yeah, I'm very interested too in the scientist types. I think art and science collide, and animation is something I'm a big fan of. So I try to still think of like the classic roots of everything as I try to create worlds. And I don't know. Yeah, I definitely have thought of it in the past.
I'm sorry, I just had to clear my throat there, so I stayed muted for a second. But I'm kind of like stuck on this question tonight. I've been asking people a lot about this, but I'm kind of curious as well as far as your work goes, Bubble. Like, how do you approach things color wise when you're working on your work? Like, do you have like a detailed plan for a piece before you start working on it usually, or like a specific concept you want to portray or something, or is it like more of a free flow kind of process and then the piece ends up how it does?
That's definitely a case by case thing, but I feel like for the most part, when I'm doing my digital illustrations, like I've kind of neglected backgrounds. So I just focus on characters. And in that sense, I start with black and white sketches that I then convert to color. So I'm thinking values rather than actual hues. But when I'm in digital, I can just kind of shift it around with the sliders. But when I'm doing like my abstract art, it's more of a like a Microsoft Paint kind of fill the shapes vibes, and I just feel out what colors need to go where because of the weight of the piece. I don't know if that makes sense, but just like the visual weight of it. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm running a little bit dry for questions here, so I'm scrolling through your link fire real quick, trying to find some stuff so I can like ask about specific pieces. I'm trying to find your object specifically because I really want to talk about some of the ghouls a little bit more. Here we go.
no
I think I'm
stress.
getting it now. Okay, cool. All right, I just brought them up, so now I can actually give a little more like informed questions. So I'm kind of curious. So you said that like you feel like you've ignored backgrounds a little bit. That's actually something I feel like the way that you approach them though is something that I have always really appreciated about your work. Like with the ghouls specifically, you chose like that like block kind of background with like the titles down at the bottom. What was the inspiration for doing that?
That's a fun question, actually. I mean, like I said, like I've been focusing more on character art, so I didn't want to do much background, to be honest. But I felt like just creating a context would help me not necessarily need to do one. So while doodling, I can't find the original post, but it's the fourth one and this one. Uh, Hold up. Yeah, it's the fourth piece in this one that has kind of like a pyramid gridded background. I did it fresh off of going to Miami last year and meeting everyone. Well, like re-encountering people and everything. Um, but the night after, I wanted to do another one, and I did more of like a square background. And just playing around with it, I masked out some like rectangles within it, and it felt more like a frame. Like instantly, I was thinking back to like Tetris and like that dinosaurs blowing bubbles games I can't quite think of. Um, and it just like it felt familiar, so I pursued it. It made like some kind of boundaries for this collection. But I've been trying to do that more and more. So with this specifically, it was definitely just tapping into like nostalgia and old games that I've always really been a fan of. And yeah, um, I think creating like that, like the lack of background can, I don't know, just make my pieces feel empty in some times. But trying to like work around it. So like with the vignettes now, like they're still back, like they're still empty, but I kind of include an actual vignette just so there's a slight gradient. But finding ways around that, and obviously I'm going to push myself into backgrounds in the future, but I feel like there's more effective ways to go about it in terms of doing like a 3D, 2D mix. So like creating the background in 3D so that I don't have to keep drawing it in a bunch of perspectives. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. And I gotta say, I gotta gas you up real quick. Like looking at the original ghouls, and then like thinking about what's happened over time and everything, and like how I felt about them like originally, like it honestly feels kind of iconic. Like I know that you were saying that like that you want to add more backgrounds and stuff, but like the way you have like the blocks around it and everything, and especially hearing about like the inspiration of like the callback to like Tetris and all of that. It just that's like the only word that I can think to describe it is like it feels like very classic. It feels very iconic. I think it like really adds a lot to the pieces as a whole. I'm not gonna lie, I might have to convert into some Tez and snipe one of these. I'm pretty tempted. I'm a little bit bummed that it looks like none of the only one of five that's listed is for like 200 Tez, and I probably shouldn't spend that right now, but I might have to convert a little bit later. I don't know.
damn, that's the first ghoul. That would be insane. That's been sitting there for a minute, but I really appreciate that. I think that with this collection, I took the opportunity to just be a little more audacious, maybe, with just naming it ghouls, because that's kind of like just naming a collection of vampires or like zombies or, I don't know. It's just like there's already so much media around it, but since this is a new space, I felt like I can carve out what it means to be like a ghoul in Tezos, and I don't know, it just felt like a new blank canvas for these different kind of worlds. And yeah, I appreciate that. Just seeing where the collection has gone, I've definitely put a lot of time into each design, but I'm trying to like work on evolving it into real life too. So I've been working on like 3D sculpts of them and just practicing new muscles with the same ideas. And it's been really cool to think about them in a full like picture, like, the actual proportion and anatomy that isn't necessarily shown in the static image. But yeah, I feel like it's just like building my character assets to play with in the future and tell these little stories. I definitely want to include some like cartoonish vignettes, characters messing with ghouls or the ghouls messing with them, and just continue to create different collections and also intertwine them.
I think that's so sick. I especially love the idea of like kind of combining these different collections together and putting like the vignettes with the goals and everything. I think it'll be super interesting to see how you do that over time.
Thanks. Yeah. I feel like the main thing I've been trying to do with Subtle Bubble is make it a collection of collections, and the bubble that floats through them, is the main thing together. Because definitely struggled with organization, but been finding my ways. Like just last year, I started signing my pieces with an actual bubble, and I thought that was like a cool evolution to what Subtle Bubble is. But yeah, just finding it along route, and I think it's how I also find my art.
I think that's so sick. No, I really love that a lot. We're getting pretty close to that 8:30 time that I was talking about, so I think we'll probably come to a close here. But again, thank you so much to everybody that joined us both in the first space and in this space. Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Bubble. Thank you, Samuel. Anybody that came up to speak, anybody that came to listen, we really appreciate it a lot. And I was talking about it a little bit earlier, but we do these spaces pretty much usually 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we're going to be doing ones on like Tuesday and Thursday. We're trying to figure out if we're going to do one tomorrow night. We probably will end up doing some sort of discussion or something, but you can for sure check in on Friday. We'll have like an artist critique, and we're going to have Scratch Williams coming in to co-host that one. But yeah, I'm WGM. This has been another great Burrito DAO space. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Burritos for life.
On Feta.
On Feta.